I'm not convinced that he has been darted yet. I'll tell you why, because there's a vehicle from the Saudi Sands parked behind us. I don't think they're going to do anything while the game drives are here. But we know well doing that if the opportunity arises. I don't think it will be traumatic at all. It'll just be really quite interesting to see. Anyway, we'll get some information from them. No saya mau kami. Changan kumbo shizun, shfana galo.
Yeah, that mas changana.
Beautiful sun there, isn't that wonderful? Seems to be typing. I'm going to have to kill your comms again. This is the only place that I can get signal on my phone, so when you hear that it's because I'm getting a question from you. And VM's head goes a bright red colour whenever that happens. I'm sorry about this, VM, but there's nothing I can do. I think maybe film the leopard, it's more attractive than I am. I don't know why I put this earpiece in my ear. It's like it's of any use whatsoever. So now there are only two of us left, which is rather exciting. Oh, question. And we may well go across to Scott just now, but I'll keep you posted. Now, we are in perfect communications at the moment, so you're welcome to send through questions. Well, not perfect ones, but I can certainly get them. So if you want to send through questions, hashtag Safari Live, you know, I could probably just load the Twitter handle instead of worrying with Nicola. If you would like to send through some questions, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV, and we can certainly see if we can answer them. Craig, what's the lineup? Hello Maggie on Twitter, you want to know if they are going to dart him? I don't know yet. I'm going to go and chat to the chap from the Sabi Sands as we pull out of here, and we'll ask them and see what they're going to do. I'm not sure. Certainly they might. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen there, but it won't be a particularly traumatic experience for anyone concerned, so please don't be worried about it at all. Where is he? Okay. We'll pull out. And then Bob G, you want to know who is going to apply the band-aid after he's been darted. I'm afraid he's going to have to do that himself by licking his wound. Now, I'm afraid we are going to have to leave here. We'll come back when all the people have cycled through here, and we'll come back and see if we can have another look at him a bit later on. But there are huge numbers of people making their way towards the sighting, because there's obviously an enormous amount of concern and interest in the fate of young Sindile, whose name I'm now going to not forget because I know that one. And so we're going to gently make our way out as the golden light of the setting sun, you can see there, is enveloping what is, yes, I suppose, is quite an angelic leopard. Wonderful sighting this. Okay. that's it for now, everybody. We'll try and come back a little bit later. And I'm going to try and get a little bit more. I'm going to get some information for you on the darting, and I will let you know about that now. Now, you will go to Scott at some stage. I will have no way of knowing if and when you are with him, so I'm going to pretend that you're still with me for now, and you will see Scott when you do, and me when you do as well. Okay. Oh, my little fella.
Welcome back, everyone, and Andrew and myself have had our work cut out for us following Karula in and out of this little riverbed, but she is somewhere just up to our right, and I think she is going to be approaching us shortly. Apologies from Nikki for rushing you away from James, but she's got absolutely no communication with him, so that's why he couldn't let you know exactly that you would be coming back to us. But happy to have you on board, and let's try and work out where Karula has gone. And I believe you all in on the fact that we've been using WhatsApp as the technology for comms this afternoon with James, so that's some interesting stuff that doesn't happen often. And again, just the joy of being on a live safari. I just got a glimpse of her, but I'm not going to get Andrew to try and show her to you because it is a little bit too thick there. And let's rather focus on trying to get into a good spot to continue following her. Well, that was a bad start. What is stopping us here? Look for the log. Ah, it's the small little log, so we're just going to use some speed to take us over. Oh, maybe not. Again, once more, a bit more speed. There we go. Sometimes you do just have to force it with these vehicles, but they are designed for it. Go ahead, Jan. Okay, copy. I did have a glimpse of her earlier between us. So she's not up on your side, she's definitely not here. She might be a little bit ahead of where we're going, but she was between us just a moment ago.
Yeah, it's not here on the road.
Wonderful. Okay, great news. She's popped up onto Rebecca's Road finally, and it's going to be a joyful moment getting back onto some smooth turf again. Fastest everyone. Well, because you've been with us for quite a while now without seeing her, I'm going to give you the first opportunity we get, which is just about now, and we can at least show you a glimpse of her heading off to an area where I've always wanted to see a leopard go, and the reason being is there's a very big dead knobthorn tree that I've always wanted a leopard to perch up, and it's just up to her right. Show it to you now. You see that big knobthorn tree? If she climbs up there, we are going to have the best leopard sighting ever. There's also a leopard orchid up there, so a leopard with a leopard orchid in that dead tree with the golden afternoon lights could make for an incredible sighting. I think she's going to go up that tree with the leopard orchid in. I was just letting Jorts know that I thought she would do that. He's a very keen photographer, and he's been coming here for 50 years since he was a little boy, and He's got some incredible stories of the leopards of this area, and he really loves this photography, as I was saying, and I'd be so happy if he gets some opportunities to photograph her up this tree. And it's still looking kind of promising. She's quite close to it. And the other vehicle's kindly motioning that we can just sneak past them. Thanks very much, guys. And I'm just going to get out of their way and into a good spot where you can see her, which is probably just about there. Wonderful. There might be a few branches in the way, but she's sitting up on a termite mound. Looks like she's catching her breath. You may notice she's panting gently, and she has been covering quite a lot of distance. Look at this wonderful shot, just like the kudu earlier, from the low angle. It really does make a massive difference. Look at the beautiful colors of the sky in the background. And just like dogs pant to cool down, so will leopard. They can't sweat like we do, so that's her cooling down. Well, I must say a very big thank you to Deborah in LA, who's one of the avid Safari Live viewers, and she's mentioned that there is reports of Karula mating in mid-May, which means she could well have a cub or cubs of 4 to 5 weeks of age. So thanks very much for reminding us of that, Deborah. Would you mind letting us know exactly where that happened and with which male? Because the last I heard was that she was mating with a skittish male, and that was in Buffels Hook, and that report actually came from Jors, who is in the sighting with us, who I was chatting about earlier. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask him when he remembers that to be, because I don't remember it being that long ago, but maybe my filing cabinets have been a little bit rearranged and mixed up. But thanks so much for that information, Deborah, and like I said, if you could let us know any more info on that, it would be wonderful. If it is the case, it's unlikely that she would have gone 4 or 5 weeks without being seen with a cub. Females who are moving back and forward to a den site will very often make for easy tracking, because you have tracks going backwards and forwards into the same place time and time again, which leads you quite easily towards the den sites, even though it can often be in thick vegetation. Just try and creep forward a bit more and see if we can get you a different angle, and that way we'll make space for the vehicles behind us. Sorry, Andrew. I think this could work quite well. There we go. Andrew's happy. Well, it looks like she's slowly catching her breath, and the temperature's cooling down greatly every second that goes by. Please, can you come up this tree? She is heading towards the base of it, and there is a slim chance she is going to run up it. It will be the most amazing thing we could ever wish for. But no, I think she's going straight past it. But what it may mean is that she will go up to the next termite mound, which will leave her beautifully silhouetted with the setting golden sun. And watch closely here. I'm probably going to have to reposition again. This is going to be beautiful. Let me just see. No, we're not going to get an angle from here. Andrew's got some big bushes in the way, so let's hurry on up and try and get round. Let's get the camera on her, please, Andrew. Oh, too late. There it is. That's what we were hoping for. Look at this. How awesome. Can you believe our luck? This is absolutely awesome. She must have seen something because she's darted off quite quickly. Interesting. I wonder what it could be. Well, wasn't that an absolutely beautiful, beautiful view of that wonderful leopard? Now, to see if we can stay with her, which is always a bit tricky, and we must bear in mind that it looked like she was possibly chasing after something. So we need to be as cautious as possible and as sensitive as possible, because we don't want to interfere in what goes on this afternoon. We don't either want to help her, neither disadvantage a prey animal or help a prey animal by chasing it away. So we want to try and remain as neutral as possible, and that means we're going to have to just stand by here. But Andrew will be able to zoom in a little bit and get you a closer view as she appears to be slowly stalking forward. She's absolutely poised and focused. And watch carefully. As she walks, she'll put each foot into the same place as the previous front foot. So her hind feet will fall into almost the exact same spot as her front feet, and that way it'll make sure she's not making too much noise. And the term for that is called the registering. So her tracks will register one on top of the other. So let's try and watch for that. What she also may do is just sit down and lower herself to the ground and wait for the scenario to become more favorable for her. I can't see what she might be stalking, but you certainly can see that she's completely focused. Look at how she holds her one foot up rather than placing it down unnecessarily. That was awesome. Well, because the vegetation here is very thick, it doesn't really make sense for us to reposition, because it would be highly unlikely that we could ever get into position here where we could actually film the takedown. So I think it's more important for us just to hang around and see as much of this initial stalk as possible. And even if she successfully kills without us seeing, it means we get to enjoy what happens thereafter, whether she hoists the kill up into a tree, whether the hyena come in and give her a hard time. So just bear that in mind. Of course I want to show you as much as possible, but I don't want to get in her way. I wonder what it is that she's stalking. Wouldn't that be nice to know? Possibly a duiker or a steenbuck, 2 small antelope. Aren't we all so lucky to be following a leopard live on an actual hunt, getting to see her stalk through this vegetation? After seeing her silhouetted up on that termite mound, we are being absolutely spoiled rotten. And it's always worth remembering these magical moments when we are getting frustrated and can't find the animals we're looking for, because this makes every single moment worthwhile, all the hard work and quiet times in between. And it's wonderful to have many, many people all around the world enjoying this incredible stalk that we are witnessing. And I'm told the beautiful screenshots are flooding in, so keep them coming. Spread the word, show your friends. We need to get as many people involved in these magical moments as possible. I'm just going to give Andrew an update quickly. Andrew, there's a Tamboti about 50 meters directly ahead of my vehicle. She's just slightly north and west of that, stalking something in a westerly direction. So Andrew's just joined the sighting, and it's important that we try and keep him as much in the loop as possible, as it can be quite frustrating when you arrive in a sighting and don't know what is going on. And it's important that he knows, look, there she's holding up her tail like I said she might do earlier. Look at that! Awesome! I've never seen her shake it like that. You'd swear it's some kind of a lure, and she's trying to hypnotize something into coming towards her. That is crazy. But I highly doubt that's the case, because if anything saw that tail wobbling, it would be off in a flash. So that was just a joke. But there are certain predators that will use a very similar motion and technique to lure in. Oof, this is looking good. Look at how she's flapping herself to the ground here. Epic. Oh, no ways. She's got such good cover in here. Is she gonna get lucky? There goes the tail again. Surely that's a bad habit, Karula. Put your tail down. I think she must be close. She's showing so much signs of excitement. And she could blast off into the vegetation at any moment. I can't believe how lucky we've been to watch her stalk for so far. She's probably been on the stalk now for about 60 meters. And considering how thick the bush is, we're very lucky with the route she's been using. That tail of hers. Now, Nikki mentioned that it looked like she may be snarling or hissing at something. So who knows, maybe another leopard could pop out at this rate. Look at how she's flapping her ears. Or is she just getting closer to the ground in anticipation for prey that may be approaching her? Very, very interesting stuff, this. what is going to pop out of the bushes in front of her? It's not uncommon for predators like leopard and lion, especially at this stage of the evening. Once they do get close to their prey, rather than blundering a good opportunity, they can often wait for darkness or less light, which will aid them with their great night vision and disadvantage their prey. So that may be the case. The other thing that she may be doing is simply waiting for prey that could be approaching her. Thanks, Andrew, for showing us a little bit of the surrounding scenery here that she's been hunting through. And isn't it crazy how after all that excitement it seemed like she was just about to pounce? She's low down as if she wasn't doing anything remotely like hunting earlier. But that tail's still telling a story, if only we knew exactly what it meant. It seems to be more prone to jiggle to the right than to the left, though. Although yeah, she's definitely tending to the right. It's as if she's got earphones plugged in and she's listening to music. But that's certainly not the case. Oh, her head's just picked up. What's happened? Did you see that, everyone? Oh, things are looking good again. Things are looking good. What is in there? And I think Johan could see whatever it was that was up ahead there, because I just heard him saying he could see something running away. So, also judging by her body language, while she's holding her head up high, I don't think they're close anymore. And we're going to have to now reposition and work out what to do next. But wasn't that so awesome? It started up to our right on this termite mound where she was beautifully silhouetted, and then shortly after that she rocketed down the hill and the stalk began. Very often stalks will be unsuccessful, and that's something, especially for the newer viewers, that you should get to know quite soon. You shouldn't feel sorry for the leopard, because they are used to succeeding probably only 10 to 20% out of all of their attempted hunts. And the reason for that is that it makes sense for their prey to have evolved and learned how to avoid being eaten. Otherwise there wouldn't be any of them around on the planet at the moment. So that's a kind of simple way of looking at it. It makes more sense for the predators to battle for their food than for the prey to be easy victims. Otherwise the leopards would just become overweight and unhealthy. Okay, so the guys are just pointing up to our right, and I'm not sure if we are going to be able to cross up there. I think we'll be able to give it a try. But it was lekker, hey?
Yeah, cool. Lekker.
Cheers, guys. What was it that she was after? Okay, cool. Thank you very much. So some of you may have heard me saying that was lekker, which kind of means cool. The actual word in Afrikaans is sweet. So it can be used as that was good or awesome. And Johan, who was driving that vehicle, is an Afrikaans gentleman. So I just thought I'd chat in his local lingo. And he did also mention that she was after 2 little steenbuck. So that was what she was hoping to snack on for dinner, but she's going to have to look for something else or possibly continue pursuing them. we've got lucky again. She's still in our view. Just parked at a bit of a funny angle, so Andrew's had to level off the camera. And now he can take you in for a closer look. Once a predator, like a lion or a leopard, even cheetah or wild dog, once their prey has detected them and run off, they've basically got zero chance of catching them again. They rely almost completely on the element of surprise and ambush. The wild dog is slightly different in that they can chase their prey down for very long distances, so maybe I shouldn't have used them as an example. But certainly lion and leopard, they need to be very close to their prey and only chase for very short bursts, at most maybe 50 or 50 meters, whereas cheetah can chase for slightly further than that and slightly longer. But for her to continue now running after these paranoid steenbuck wouldn't make sense for her, and it kind of would be more beneficial for her to move off to another area and see if she can find any unsuspecting victims. Okay, well, I've just got some very, very interesting news today, and we're going to keep an eye on Karula, who's sitting facing down into the drainage line. And the interesting news is that because Madiba has been found, some of you may be aware of the fact that he did catch a domestic dog that had broken into the reserve. It was a few days ago, and the large risk that domestic dogs carry in this area is rabies. And just the very brief interaction that Madiba had with that domestic dog, he caught it and carried it up into a tree. Actually didn't kill the dog, but carried it up into a tree. The dog was playing dead, but in the process of catching it and biting onto it, it could well have contracted rabies had that dog have had rabies. Now the dog has been sent off. It was exterminated and it has been sent off for rabies tests. And in the meantime though, rather than waiting for those tests to come back, the Sabi Sands Wildtuin, which is the operation that runs the entire Sabi Sands Reserve, and the vets within this organization have decided to inoculate him against rabies. And that is actually going to be done this evening, and it's something that we thought we would actually like to try and share with you. It's something bizarre, it's something that I've never seen happen, so you will be seeing something potentially that I've never seen before. And basically what they're going to do is they've got a dart with the rabies inoculation, and they will shoot it into Madiba's bottom in all likelihood, or that's where they're hoping to be aiming. And the dart will self-inject, so upon impact it injects the inoculation, and in all likelihood Madiba will then irritatedly pull or scratch the dart out, or within 45 minutes it's got a self-releasing mechanism, so it pops out of the leopard. Of course, just like when we get an injection, Madiba is going to get a little bit of a fright, so we could expect him to possibly pounce, or who knows, maybe he'll just look around and act like nothing's never happened. But we've got to remember that it's critical that this does happen. If he is not inoculated, and that dog was rabid, and he gets rabies, he too will have to be shot. And that, of course, is the last thing we want. And we need to send you across there now, so be ready for some action. We don't know what's going to happen, but it is highly necessary. See you later.
Okay, everybody, we've been given permission to film Sindile having his inoculation. He's going to be inoculated now, so I'm going to be very quiet and you're just going to watch.
Go for it, Edwin.
So just keep an eye on the leopard. He will run, he will probably run, it will sting him, so it won't be very nice for him. But don't worry, he will be fine. I'm just going to be very quiet. He's definitely quite suspicious. There's a dart gun sticking out of the other vehicle. watching. Here we go. Yeah, we might want to be a little bit wider, I don't know. I think he's going to leap like a scalded cat. Here we go. I think there was a misfire. Yeah, there was definitely a misfire. I think the gas canister in the dart gun did not go off. So she's just replacing it. These are highly competent people here. So we're just going to wait patiently and watch. So everybody, please don't be alarmed if he does get up and run. He will probably disappear out of screen faster than the frames can pick him up. But don't be alarmed by that. It's entirely fine. Okay. You're going to keep trying? Okay. So there is a jam in the dart gun, everyone. They've got to try and push it out manually. So stand by. If Karula does anything truly spectacular, we will record this regardless. So don't worry, you won't miss it. If Karula does something spectacular, we'll probably cross back to her. But unfortunately, I still don't think I have any. I don't think I have any radio communication, so I'm just going to quickly check if I can get Nikki at all. Nikki, do you copy? It's a miracle, everybody. There is a working radio connection. This is great news. So you can now talk to me on the Twitter. Liam's going to keep his camera trained on the leopard. The Sabi Sands guys are just going out to try and reload the dart gun, which is being recalcitrant. This is a very complex piece of equipment. Well, I'm not really copying her, I'm afraid. It's about 0 out of 5. Are you getting her at all? 2 out of 5. What's she saying?
Don't know.
No.
Only got the end and the esports.
Okay, everybody. Nikki, I can't hear you. Sindile's little ears are bent down like that because there seem to be some franklins knocking about the place. I also think there is a buffalo or two the other side of that other vehicle. There's another vehicle in the sighting, and there seems to be a buffalo there, and so he's just got his ears in that kind of stalk mode. Nikki, if you want to talk with me, WhatsApp's the way to go, I'm afraid. Or you can phone. So that was a bit of an anticlimax. I did hear a little kind of from the back from the dart gun, and clearly it wasn't functioning as it should. Now what we don't want is for him to get up and move. They do need daylight to do it. So if it becomes dark, I think they'll probably try again tomorrow. So the Sabi Sands is just reversed out. You can perhaps hear the sound of their engine. They're just trying to fix it up. And an interesting question from Barb G. Who applies the from Lynn. Barb, we got to if darting will change his view on people and vehicles. Lynn, it might very briefly. I don't know that he'll associate the sting that he's going to get on his rump with the vehicle. He might, but I don't think it won't affect him in the long term. I think he'll forget about it pretty quickly. Maybe tomorrow he'll be a little bit nervous and we'll have to approach him a bit more carefully, but I don't think that there will be a huge difference. There is an image from Nicola coming through. I don't know what on earth it says, but I'm waiting for it. In the meanwhile, what a privilege to spend yet more time with magnificent little Sindile. here we go. Here's the question come through an image. I'll just read it. A little Isabella, aged 4. You want to know why they don't give him a band-aid? It will make him feel better. Isabella, leopards don't like band-aids, you know. They're so clever at healing themselves that it just doesn't really hurt them and enough to warrant us putting a band-aid on. And they've also got fur, of course, and that means that a band-aid really won't stick very well, even if we could get close enough to put a band-aid on him. And then Elise in Colorado, are leopards inoculated for rabies and other diseases routinely, or is it only after they've been possibly exposed? Elise, it's only after a possible exposure. It's not done routinely. We try and interfere as little as possible with all of the animals in the bush here. It's only when there's an anthropogenic harm done, and obviously a domestic dog would be considered an anthropogenic effect or an anthropogenic threat to an animal, and that is why they are that's why they're going to inoculate him. It is possible that some leopards eat a domestic dog and we don't see it, and that is an absolute worry, and certainly it's possible. And certainly with the leopard you saw, some of you would have seen that Sindile pulled that dog up into the top of a tree, and so it became pretty obvious. And the leopards we see quite a lot. With a lion, though, I wonder what he's definitely spotted something, maybe a squirrel or a duiker or maybe another francolin. But what leopards definitely do, at least what lions definitely do, is that if they caught a domestic dog, they would devour it in seconds and you wouldn't know. And so that is a worry. Whereas leopard, because we spend so much time with them and they eat a little more slowly, chances are you'd find them with the dog. But lions, it happens so fast. But we're still waiting. There's clearly some problem with the dart gun. So I don't think we'll wait for too much longer, because if we do have to, it's going to get dark, and that's obviously going to be an issue. They won't shoot him during the dark. And by shoot I mean dart, everybody, don't worry. I rather hope they do it now, because look, looks like he's going to try and stalk something.
There's a francolin.
Is there a francolin? Vian can see a francolin. There they are. Little crested francolins making their way off. I've seen francolins walk right up to this leopard. He just looks at them. Others have been obviously made dinner of. Now this other fellow is going to leave. Whether or not they get the dart gun to work, I don't know, but we'll hang around and just see what they do. I think it's well worth our while, and even if you have to go back to Karula, I of course won't know if you've gone back to Karula. You may be back with them now. But if you if you do go back to Karula, we are recording, and we'll definitely make sure to show you on a highlights reel if and when this great event occurs. Here they come. They're coming back. They may, of course, just go straight past because the dog. No, they're coming back in. Now, what this fellow is going to do, I couldn't tell you. So there's another car driving past us. That's why you're having to stare down my left ear. Thank you for that, Vian. I hope I've cleaned it. Cleanish. There we go. Right, so that car's leaving. We're going to put our sights back on magnificent little Sindile, and the Sabi Sands guys will come back in now. It's looks really on the edge of whether we'll be able to get him today now with the light available. And the slowness with which that other chap is leaving is not helping the matter at all. And now he's stopped to have an enormous chat. Anyway, here we go. Action stations, everybody. Nicky has asked for a link to Karula, but I think they're about to try and dart him again, so we're going to stay here. I'm not sure if you are live or if we are not live. I couldn't begin to tell you at this stage. I suspect these guys are going to drive on the back of him so that they can get at his backside. Go. Right. It's actually a perfect view for us. Sindile, put your head down. This is going to hurt. Little sting. Little. Okay, here we go. I will tell you, the little dart gun's sticking out of the window now. Sindile has his backside turned. Conditions are perfect. About this. She's taking aim. Got him. Got him. I think. Okay, I'm just going to move back a little bit. We have got a view of him. I don't know if it hits him or not. Coming forward. There he goes, he's running. He's running now. Okay, everybody, that's it for us, I'm afraid. We're going to just, you can see his spots there. I can't see if it's hitting or not. We're going to have a quick look and see. Okay.
I don't see anything in his right hand side.
Okay.
But people really dropped.
Any luck? He's just gone round the side. Okay. Alright, everybody, we're going to hand you back to Scott now. We may try and help these guys find him again, but I don't think we need to drag you along for the ride. If anything else exciting happens, we will record it and we'll send it over to you. So we're going to go across to Scott now, and I'll keep you posted. Very exciting afternoon. I think they did miss. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to shoot with those things. We'll see you just now. Maybe move the camera off me.
Welcome back, everyone. And as you can hear, I am snapping off a few photographs because this is just too beautiful. She hasn't moved at all far from where we last left her, and it sounds like it's been a bit of a circus across with James and the darting of Madiba. Oh, that was the moment I was waiting for, but I missed it. And you can hear Andrew laughing happily as he forgot his camera at home. But as James said, it sounds like they missed with the dart, so now they probably have the fun job of trying to relocate that dart, as they probably only have one of them, I'm guessing. So I hope they do find it and they do manage to reload it and get Madiba inoculated sooner rather than later. Failing that, tomorrow is another day, and I guess you guys are fortunate enough to have been involved in the antics that have just unfolded. Like I said, I've never experienced anything like that. Although, in my time, there certainly have been some interesting moments out here in the bush. I'm not going to rush because we are parked in. Andrew's vehicle is just up ahead of us here, and he's just allowing his guests to enjoy a view as Karula makes her way out of this little riverbed where she was taking a sleeves. Sorry guys. Just snap the bush into all of your faces. Andrew's just going to get out the lens cloth and give it a good old wipe to make sure you still have some crystal clear images. I'm not too sure where she's gone, but I'm confident we'll find her again. Oh, I've just seen her, and she is just up ahead of us, so we'll be able to give you a view of her again shortly. And what I might do is actually just stop right here. Oh, no. She was run off from the spot where she was. Poor old Andrew's having a hard time turning around his limousine, which you just got a glimpse of moving through the shots. Great, well, the action continues, and you couldn't have come back at a better time. She was literally sleeping, eyes closed, other than every now and then she'd open them up, have a look around, and within 1 minute of you being back, she decided to start showing off for you again. And I certainly didn't think we were going to have an action-packed afternoon like we're enjoying now, after the fairly quiet drive predator-wise this morning. She's directly ahead of us. I'm just trying to think what the best course of action is now, but we're probably just going to have to follow her from here. There's some exciting news that I'll share with you, and we can just make sure there isn't any potential prey up ahead here. She has stopped and is listening intently again, so we'll use her cue to stop for us to also stop. And Nikki and Jess are putting together a clip for you guys in the final control room in slow motion, and you're going to be able to watch the attempted darting of Madiba, and it's a nice short clip, and you'll all be able to see in slow-mo exactly how far the marksman missed by. They're difficult things to use, dart guns, because the darts don't travel as true and as far as a regular bullet would. So they do have a few excuses, but the good news is you're not going to have to wait any longer to see that slow motion clip. I wish I was watching it too, but I will get to watch it later. Anyway, enjoy, and next time you join us, we'll hopefully be ahead of Karula again. Well, isn't it wonderful that we got to show you that action again? Sounded like a narrow miss, and maybe whoever was trying to, or had the role of darting it, couldn't handle the pressure of the cameras, as a lot of people take some time to get used to it, so at least they'll have an excuse really for themselves with that. Now, it's a tricky area, this, because it is thick, and I want to just try and keep her in sight, but not again interfere in her evening's plans. If it does get to a point where we need to use a spotlight to view her, I think what we may do is actually rather decide to move out of the sighting and go and look for something else. She is hungry, and I think it's best we leave her to hunt under cover of darkness without any distractions, but it's not there yet. Now, again, if any of you did join the show very recently and didn't get the full explanation as to why that leopard is being darted, It's basically to ensure that its own life is protected. It attacked a domestic dog with rabies, and rabies is an exceptionally dangerous disease, and if the leopard was to get it, it too would need to be exterminated. The risk of the rabies spreading through all the wild animals in this reserve is catastrophic, and that is why the only way to deal with them once they do in fact have it is to kill them. So that injection or dart is merely an inoculation to make sure it didn't contract it, and the very small, the very minute amount of trauma or stress that it will go through is obviously certainly worth that animal's life. And we spend so many hours day in and day out with the leopards and the lions. Every now and then if we do something nasty to them, i.e. shoot a dart into their bottom, they will in all likelihood forgive us. They certainly will forgive us, because it's a random event that happens so infrequently. So that's just to fill any of the newer viewers in, and there are people joining in and jumping off the safari throughout the 3-hour show. So that's why we have to keep everyone well updated. I'm leaving your home to keep an eye on her, as we've already had so many good views of her this afternoon, and I'm trying to loop ahead and stay on the periphery. Just keep an eye out for any potential prey, so I can alert Johan, the other person in this sighting, if he needs to switch off his vehicle so that we don't interfere. So that's the plan. We may still get some more views of her, but no guarantees, and that is life on safari. Nothing is guaranteed, and that is the beauty of it. I've got to be careful of aardvark holes in this area. There are a few that I saw behind us, which are excavations made under the ground by a nocturnal ant bear, essentially. Have you still got her there, Johan, or is she headed further west? Okay, copy, thanks. Well, Johan has lost sight of her, but we'll keep moving through this general area, and maybe we'll bump into her again. We'll probably slowly start weaving our way back to the road. Look at the beautiful colours out to the west. Now back to the topic of Madiba and his rabies inoculation. Sandy is interested to know if he will be inoculated again in a couple of weeks, and as far as I'm aware, there will be a follow-up in 21 days. Those are the exact words used by somebody called Mike, who's aware of the ongoings for this operation, and whether that follow-up is a follow-up dart or another further inoculation, or merely a follow-up to monitor its condition, I'm unaware of, but it is something we will be able to find out more of, and I'm sure James, who is there with them, will be able to find out some more interesting info for you. I've heard terrible stories of entire packs of wild dog being wiped out due to rabies, and basically just one member of a wild dog pack will need to have a fight with a domestic dog, contracts rabies. They're such social animals that they kiss and lick the other pack members, and that is how rabies is best transmitted, through saliva. And within a very short period of time, the whole pack will become rabid and either die of natural causes or have to be exterminated because they become very, very aggressive even towards humans. I heard of the story of one attacking a vehicle, going crazy on the tire, and isn't it sad how this disease can have such a radically negative impact on the animals' lives? And be it lion or leopard or wild dog, if any animal does contract rabies, just to further reiterate, they will need to be exterminated for human protection, as a rabid animal is very dangerous, and then for protection of all the other animals in that area. If the rabies was to spread between all the leopards and all the lions, they would all eventually die. So it's a hugely important thing to address seriously, and I'm very glad that the Sabi Sands have managed to, or at least attempt to for now, get this leopard inoculated. Come on, Kurula. So we've thankfully popped out onto a road. That's a pleasant surprise. And so get the little side lights out and ready. And get ready for the nocturnal safari. There we go. Kurula, where are you hiding? So, I wonder if she hasn't headed down towards Treehouse Dam. I think we should go and check there. Johan, I'm going to go down and check Treehouse Dam. Okay, so just letting Johan know my plans. Okay, copy, thanks Johan. And he let me know his. He's going to stay in this area. And she may have just slunk in the bushes between us. Okay, copy, great. I'll still just check the dam in case. So, good news. It sounds like there's some impala. And what Johan is doing is he's just going to stand by in that area. There's a strong chance she is there, and she could be trying to stalk them now or wait for further darkness. But rather than us going and crashing in there, let's rather leave her to her hunting, and if she is successful, we'll rush back in there. There's also a chance she's come for a drink of water at Treehouse Dam, which is just nearby here. So that's good news. I'm just going to switch off and freewheel down this hill for a short moment. Listen to all the cicadas. I wonder if we can find you one. They are incredibly well camouflaged little insects. And I fear I may have just opened myself up for a disaster to try and find you one. But let's just do it. They are so loud. There's some I can hear down to my right, and I'm just going to get my flashlight out and see if we can't find you any. Just making sure, of course, Karula's not anywhere behind us or nearby, because we wouldn't like to become part of her dinner menu. I heard one calling. It sounded like it was right down here, very close to the ground, interestingly, and they can be perched in all different places, up in the trees, down and fallen down logs and branches like this. The ones that were calling here have now stopped, and maybe that's a result of me getting out the vehicle. like I said earlier, I think I've just opened myself up here for disappointment, as the chance of finding one of these cicadas is very, very slim. So at least we tried, and that's what's making this loud, shrill noise. It's certainly one of the sounds of summer. And I think what that did was kill some time to give Karula a moment to get down to the treehouse waterhole for a drink. It's cooled down beautifully now, and it's certainly not 30 degrees Celsius, 85 degrees Fahrenheit like it was when we started the safari, probably closer to 20 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure exactly what that equates to in Fahrenheit, as here in South Africa we use the degrees Celsius measurement. Earlier when we were off-roading, I mentioned that we need to be careful that we don't fall into an aardvark burrow or hole. And Rudy in California, who asked where they lived just the other day, has now asked, do they live in there during the day? And yes, most certainly, Rudy, in this area of South Africa, they spend their days within the burrows and only come out typically late at night. I've seen very, very few aardvark in the Sabi Sands. I think only one actually that we spotted late on a staff night drive, and it was a fleeting glimpse, but a glimpse nonetheless. Although, Rudy, in some areas of Africa you'll find that aardvarks come out during late evening. They can be crepuscular. And Karula is not here. I'm going to shine the torch around the periphery of the dam just so we can make sure. But I have had a look earlier and she's nowhere to be seen. So I think she could still well be hunting these impala. And that could take quite some time at this stage of the evening. It's not quite dark, it's getting there. And like I said earlier, she'll know that if she's close to those impala, it's going to be worth waiting just another 15 or 20 minutes for pitch black. It's not going to be exactly pitch black because there's a slight sliver of the moon, but it's ever so slight. Even that will give some ambient light to the prey animals and helping them to see. Andrew's gone for a very, very cool option here, and he is attempting a bold move to show you the reflection of the small moon in the water.
Maybe too bold.
Yeah, sorry Andrew, I think that slight breeze ruined your plans. But again, that is the beauty of being on a live safari. You get to enjoy the moments of joy and the small little blunders in between which happen on a daily basis. So, no sign of Karula here. I think we should carry on and leave here. We're going to stay in the general area. We're going to stay in the general area in case Johan does get lucky. I'm just going to let him know that she is not down at the waterhole. Johan, no sign of her down here at the waterhole. Sandy in Tennessee, good afternoon, or good evening rather, and welcome on board the evening safari. Now, Sandy's interested to know hold on there, Andrew, we'll get to it later. But there is something in this little bush that I cannot wait to show you. Sandy's interested to know, do I prefer the bushwalks or being in the vehicle? Some of you may have seen me do a few bushwalks yesterday and a little brief stint this morning, Stefan this afternoon, and it's a very tricky question, Sandy, and they're two very different experiences, and that's why I like to say I like them equally, and in an ideal world I would do a morning walk and an afternoon drive. So a complete 50-50 split between the two. The morning is for me the best time to walk because you've got the freshest, most crisp tracks of all the predators that have been moving mainly at night. So the morning is the best time for being on foot and tracking, which is what I love. And then in the afternoon you head out in the vehicle with a cooler box packed with drinks, and you go and enjoy the sightings that you found or established whilst being on foot in the morning. And that allows you very different experiences. On foot it's an adrenaline rush. It's also very peaceful and calming. It's not always high adrenaline. You very seldom actually bump into dangerous animals, and it can be very soothing walking through the African wilderness. Whereas on the vehicles it's a little bit more mechanic and modern, and the sound of the engine and crashing through bushes and driving around is obviously different. It's necessary to get you close to those animals, and it's possible to get much closer in a vehicle than on foot. And when you get up close to them, you get to appreciate seeing beautiful things like Karula stalking this evening. We would have been unlikely to be able to follow her on foot for the whole afternoon and see all those things that we got to see. So on the vehicle, photos, great sightings. On foot, different experiences, finding your sightings for the afternoon. That would be ideal for me. Now, this is an animal that I've been hoping to show you for quite some time. You need to search for it in this little bush ahead of us, and Andrew will take you on a tour. And who is going to be the first of you to spot the animal and get your tweet into #SafariLive or email questions@WildEarthTV? The prize is a invisible certificate that I will send to you in the post. What have we here? Well, I'm sure you guys have started to see it now. It's a little chameleon. Finally, we've got to show you one. We've been speaking about it for days. And what a great view it is. It was probably falling asleep or about to go to sleep, so I don't want to stay here too long. You can see its eye moving there, and interestingly, it can move its eye omnidirectionally, meaning one eye can be looking in one direction and the one in completely other. And one can be looking forwards, backwards, and I'm guessing the one on the other side of the head that we cannot see is probably looking in the direct opposite movements. Oh, you just saw a very slight tilt of the right eye that we cannot see very clearly, and the little tail curled up perfectly. And this is called a flap-necked chameleon. It's sitting in a small magic guarri bush, and it'll probably get about 2 times the size of this. It's probably only 1.5 inches long in terms of its body size, and then double that with its tail. And I look forward to finding you all different shapes and sized ones. We will hopefully get to find you the tiniest of new hatchlings, which will be popping up soon, as well as the bigger ones, which will be about 6 inches in body length. Great. Well, like I said, it is in the process of going to sleep, or already asleep, well, that we woke up, so we don't want to spend too long here and disturb it. But isn't that wonderful? That, I think, is our first chameleon of the summer. Okay, so I think we're going to send you across to James for an update on what he's been up to. Good news, enjoy that, and we will try and find you something else that's interesting before we say goodbye.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Wendy here. Sorry, a bit of mild panic because I had to plug in my earpiece. Right, there is magnificent hyena having a drink here at WildEarthTV Dam, and we're just going to have a quick look at him, or her, or it. I can't tell at this stage what it is. And that's going straight towards WildEarthTV, the camp, and then on towards Nikki and Jessica in the final control, where I suspect it's going to ask a few questions about the broadcast and the radio issues. And this is what hyenas do. People think of them as living in big clans, and they do of course live in clans, but they forage a huge amount alone in the evenings, and that's why that hyena is on its own. And we find their tracks all over the roads in the mornings, and that's why. They like the roads because they're devoid of spiky vegetation, for the same reason that we like the roads. There it is, disappearing off behind a marula tree. And they're not alarm calling because the hyena is very clearly kind of just foraging along. It's not in any way indicating by its behavior that it's about to stop. Infrastructure here. What is very interesting is inured that the animals become to human habitation and the infrastructure that we just engage the low range. Totally north past the camp. Looking in. Seeing maybe there's a bed for the night, possibly smelling a nicer fillet on the braai or barbecue. And now turning directly towards the final control. Just in the bushes there. And you can hear the voices from the camp. I think this is Nikki's favourite. I think that's what she just said to me. No, not Nikki's favourite at all. I'm going to admonish severely into my left ear. It is Jess's favourite, not Nikki's. Let's see if we can have another look, and then I'm going to explain to you what went down with the darting. I think you had areas. I think you had a view of the first darting incident, and there was a second one, marginally more successful, which I think we showed you the replay of. I'm just going to explain exactly what happened there once this hyena loped off into the night. Nice colour in the sky there, so maybe this is a good place to stop. What say you, June? We'll leave the light on as the hyena disappears there. Right, now I'm just going to readjust this earpiece because it's in the wrong ear, of course, and then I'm going to place myself upon the dashboard. I have got so many wires attached to various parts of my person, and the radios and bits of me. I think there might be some internally actually as a function of this drive. Anyway, there he goes. Right. Yeah. Is that good for you, Vil? Okay, good. Thank you. Sardonic okay, says VM. Right, so let me just explain what happened. So we were in that sighting. You saw exactly that Sindile was sitting on top of the termite mound, and for those of you who've just tuned in and are perhaps confused, he's no longer Madiba. It's all a very confusing, rather ego-driven process. We're going to stick with our name, Sindile. That's a much better name, I think, anyway. Now, what happened was he was lying on the termite mound. The Sabi sands came into the area, and he was lying perfectly, actually. His bottom was exposed, and what she did, Candice, this is the ecologist from the Sabi sands, she stuck the dart gun out of the window, and she fired, and unfortunately what happened with the first dart is that it hit a stick on its way through, and that flipped it up, and that's why it didn't hit. It just went over the top of him and hit the termite, something hit the termite mound behind him, but the dart itself fell off, and it immediately expelled its rabicin or anti-rabies vaccine. And Sindile got a fright. He didn't feel anything. He got a fright. He obviously shot up like a scalded cat, ran, and then he stopped and he looked. And I'll tell you the difference between when he was actually hit with it compared with his reaction there. So then he walked off, and he was a little bit suspicious, but not too bad. And then he went around the corner, through a little drainage line, and he lay down. And we then went around with the other vehicle, with the Sabi Sands guys, and unfortunately we couldn't get a very clear shot of him being shot. And we did see him, we heard the shot going, and then we saw the leopard explode from where he was sitting, and he disappeared off into the bush. So the second shot was completely successful. Now what happens with that dart is it's got a little gel cap on it, and either the rabicin would have been immediately expelled as it hit him, because there's a special plunger in it, and what would have happened is that he would then bite it out, or what would happen is that the little gel cap will disintegrate and the dart will fall out and he will be unharmed. Now, he will have to be redone if that dog is found to be rabid, and we don't know if it is or not, but we'll keep you posted. But a successful day for Sindile. So that was a marvelous drive, wasn't it? Beautiful Karula. Thank you to Karula for taking the bulk of the drive while we had our communications difficulties. A big thank you to Viam on the camera. Thank you, Viam, for your sardonic wit and excellent handling of the camera. It was very amusing. Thank you to the bushwalker, Stefan, and I think Jean-Andre was filming him there. And then thanks, of course, to Scott. And no, it wasn't Jean-Andre. I don't know what's... Oh, Scott and Andrew were out on the other vehicle, that's right. And a big thank you to the Final Control, who've had a trying time, Nikki and Jess and Eugene in his little tin hut. That's it from Africa for this evening. Beautiful sighting of two wonderful leopards, grandmother and son, and we will see you in the beauty of tomorrow's African dawn. I hope you are happy, well, safe, and very glad wherever you happen to find yourself on beautiful planet Earth. Bye-bye, and see you tomorrow.